Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli participated in the opening session of the second Dakar Financing Summit for the African Infrastructure. The details. Addressing the opening session of the second Dakar Financing Summit for the African Infrastructure, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli stressed on Thursday that Egypt is looking forward to holding the presidency of the NEPAD Development Agency to boost the role of the agency at the international level in order to achieve the African Developmental Agenda for 2063. The Prime Minister pointed that the African continent needs about $100 billion annually to fill the funding gap regarding the infrastructure development. He noted that the African countries are willing to participate and ease the burden on the African peoples. In his address, Madbouli also said that Egypt is contributing to promoting African projects with the aim of collecting needed finance for various developmental projects. Addressing the summit, Senegalese President Macky Sall said that there are various programs focusing on developing means of transport and infrastructure in Africa, stressing the endeavors of governmental funding by the African Union Development Agency, the NEPAD, for the linking and communications projects between the African countries. Sall also pointed that the continent's development is facing huge challenges, especially in the field of infrastructure. Prime Minister Madbouli's participation in the two-day summit comes on behalf of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry received the chief of the Italian Senate's Foreign and Defense Affairs Committee, Stefania Craxi, in Cairo. Shoukry hailed the deeply rooted historic ties with the Italian side. The top diplomat reiterated the Egyptian pride of the joint cultural heritage. The minister asserted the Egyptian keen interest in facilitating the flow of the Italian investments in promising sectors at the national market and in increasing the engagement of the Italian Agency for Developmental Cooperation into the nation's development projects, the forefront of which are those carried out under the presidential initiative A Decent Life. For her part, the Italian senator stressed that her country attaches a top priority for enhancing cooperation with Egypt. She lauded the progress of the country's human rights drive. The meeting touched on a set of regional and international files of mutual concern, atop of which is the economic repercussions of the Ukrainian crisis on developing nations. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry received a phone call from the Cypriot counterpart Ioannis Kasselidis on the bilateral ties which witnessed large progress over the past years. The two foreign ministers agreed on conducting a regular follow-up of the joint developmental projects, ensuring the benefit and the interests of both peoples. They also agreed on continuing coordination regarding issues of mutual concern within the framework of deeply rooted strong strategic ties that bind the two nations. Minister of Defense and Military Production Lieutenant General Mohammed Zaki met with the Minister of National Defense and Veterans of the Democratic Republic of Congo and his accompanying delegation currently visiting Egypt. The meeting dealt with the current developments at the regional and the international levels and its effects on peace and security in the African continent. In coincidence with the 71st anniversary of the Police Day, the Ministry of Interior delegated a number of officers to visit the hospitals and the orphanages. On the same occasion, a number of police clubs received the orphans and aged people to celebrate with them. Policemen also continued to present flowers to the citizens. The Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Egypt follows up on the incident of an Egyptian citizen who was found dead inside his car in a remote rural area in Italy. Italian authorities told the Egyptian consulate in Milan that the death took place on the 14th of January. The statement added that the Egyptian consulate in Milan continues the extensive contacts with the relative Italian authorities to follow up on the developments of the case and reveal the results of the investigations into the death. In its first meeting in 2023, the Monetary Policy Committee, the MPC of the Central Bank of Egypt, decided to maintain the current interest rates. Accordingly, the overnight deposit rate, lending rate, and the main operation rate were kept unchanged at 16.25%, 17.25%, and 19.75% respectively, as the discount rate was also kept at 16.75%. The MPC said that the decision aims to leave the room assessing the impact of the previously implemented front-loaded tightening policies. It reiterated that the path of future policy rates remains a function of forecasted inflation rather than prevailing inflation rates. Egypt's stock market's indices collectively rose during Thursday dealings, pushed by the purchases operations by the Arab corporations and the Egyptian investors. The benchmark EGX 30 index edged higher by 0.5% to reach 16,507 points. The EGX 70 EWI and the broader EGX 100 indices went up by 0.8% and 0.7% respectively.